Perimenopause, it was not in my plans. I was not prepared for it, and it came earlier than I expected it, and it was very disoriented for me. I'd gotten used to my postpartum body. I had accepted that and moved on. I had learned how PMS affected me, and I could plan around that. But then in my 40s, everything shifted again. The first thing I noticed were headaches. I was down for the count once a month. I'd always had headaches, but not like this. And then it got harder to know when once a month was even going to come. It felt like puberty all over again, except now I had a job and a family and a life, and I could not just hit pause on the days that I didn't feel well. I'm Stacy. I'm a Christian, a pharmacist, and a writer, and I write and talk about how our physical health affects our spiritual lives. So first, what even is perimenopause? Let's define it first. We all know that menopause is the time of life when a woman stops having monthly cycles. Perimenopause is the time leading up to that. Peri is a prefix that means around or near. So your body starts changing a few years before menopause even starts, sometimes several years. Like I said, your body starts changing. Your hormone levels start to fluctuate more. You might still be having monthly cycles, but you might not always be ovulating. I like to think of it like a going out of business sale. If you've ever been to one, at the beginning things look pretty normal. But as the sale drags on, the shelves aren't restocked anymore, customer service declines, and it all becomes a little more unpredictable. You may still look the same on the outside, but your body knows that change is coming and you can definitely feel it. So, the emotional and spiritual fog. That's what a lot of women talk about. That's what a lot of women notice in this season. So many of us, this comes at a really busy season of life, and we do not have a manual. The emotional shifts are very sudden. We can become moody, irritable, exhausted, brain fog, fatigue, and we might not even recognize ourselves, especially when we're having those emotional ups and downs. I felt like I was relearning how to live in my body, and it was not just physical, it was emotional, and it affected my spiritual life too. And that's really unsettling, especially for Christian women. We are busy. We are trying to love our families. We're trying to serve in our churches. We're trying to show up faithfully and do the work that God has called us to do, whatever that might be. And it's hard. It's hard to juggle it all. It's hard to manage it all. And that's part of why this season is so hard. And another reason why is just aging. Aging is a reminder of our mortality. And when we speak about death in a theological sense, it's not natural because death is a result of the fall. It's what happened when sin entered the world. So when our bodies start to fray around the edges, of course it feels wrong. That ache isn't a weakness. That's our soul groaning for redemption that we realize we need. The world tells us to hack aging. They try to glamorize it, or sometimes they just ignore it. But Scripture gives us something better. It gives us wisdom, grace, and gospel hope. Perimenopause does not mean that we're spiritually unstable. It means that we are human, and God knows exactly how to meet us there in this season, in this disruption and the emotional ups and downs. And the gospel applies to this. The gospel gives us hope in perimenopause, just like everything else. Because here's the truth, God does not wait for us. He doesn't wait for us to feel strong to use us. He saved us apart from anything we've done, and he can use us apart from our own abilities. The fragility we feel during this season of perimenopause, this is not a liability. This just is a doorway to depend on Christ more. The church doesn't talk about this season, but that doesn't mean it's invisible to God. He sees you. He sees you in your brain fog. He sees you in your night sweats. He sees you in your emotional ups and downs. And just like he gave us the Lord's Supper to remind us of the spiritual truth that Christ died and rose again, just look at this as a time of your body reminding you that the world is not your home. You may feel like a mess, but you really are in a great place because you are in a place where you need his grace, and that's the best place to be. So I'd like to leave you with an encouragement and an invitation. So if you're in this season, you're not alone. And you're not without purpose. God is growing you, even if you don't really feel like it. This season is not wasted. Adversity is never wasted. I wrote more about this on my website, and I included a section called The Difference Between Persevering and Pushing Through. I think sometimes we just try to push through physically without looking at it as persevering and relying on God during this season. So if you need a reminder that your weakness isn't wasted and that your hormones don't disqualify you, you can go read it on my website. It's called When Hormones Shift and Hope Holds. and I'm going to put the link below. And if you know someone walking through this season, this silent season, consider sharing this with her. Maybe she needs to hear that she's not the only one.